So I'm Tracy White. Thank you guys for coming out. This is really awesome on a late rainy Tuesday, Thursday. And hi to everybody that's watching later. So as Tracy White, I am a mom and a former marketing executive and a two-time cervical cancer survivor. So I didn't have ovarian, but I had cervical, so which we'll talk about some of my stuff later. Manifested very similar to ovarian. And I ultimately found T.E.A.L through my oncologist. And I know this battle sucks, and I know it's hard work. And I had to change every part of my life in order to survive the 15-month expiration date I was given in February 2016. So after I survived, I dedicated whatever time I had left, which was another 30 years, to helping cancer patients and stressed out workaholics find hope and some strategies to work. So I'm here today to talk about the 9 key lifestyle factors that can make a real difference in cancer. And these factors were a roadmap to my healing. And I really appreciate T.E.A.L having me here and the time that they're willing to spend. My first bout with cancer was 2012, and I was diagnosed with stage 1B cervical. I had a radical hysterectomy. I was given a full 5-year prognosis. I was told to go live my life, no need for chemotherapy, no radiation. I needed to check in every 6 months because that's what we had to do, but you'll be fine. So I didn't change any part of my life. I got a less stressful job. That was really about it. But as you can tell from this picture, that did not stick because this was taken in 2016. It was my last chemotherapy. And the story kept going. So, in 2015, I started getting really sick. And as many of you know, much like ovarian, mine manifested as ascites that made me look 8 months pregnant. And that was my most visible, but there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of discomfort, and over several months of continued misdiagnoses, I had a team of specialists. That seems to also be something that a lot of us go through. The urologist, the OBGYN, the gastrointestinal, right? Nobody could figure it, them and as well my oncologist, no one could quite figure out what was going on until we had a conclusive biopsy, and it was recurrent cervical cancer. And this time it was incurable. And I have a wonderful, wonderful oncologist, Dr. Kevin Holcomb, who was very involved. He's a man of T.E.A.L. Adore him, but he very responsibly said it could be as soon as 15 months, which is where I get my 15-month expiration date, or it could be 30 years. He's a great oncologist. He didn't actually tell me it was only 15 months. It was only when I hit 15 months that it became clear that they thought that was really the end. But obviously, I shocked him, I surprised him, and we're all very happy down here. My only conventional treatment that was an option was chemotherapy. I had tumors across my entire gut. There were too many to radiate and too many for surgery. But chemotherapy was the one shot I would have, and even then, it only had a limited time. Because I found radical remission, and it is Surviving Cancer Against All Odds by Dr. Kelly Turner. And this, for me, really became the steps that I took, and it's going to be what I'm going to walk you through today. It is, the book and the project do mean a lot to me personally because, and that's where I teach and I preach it. And before you think I'm a hack, there is actually a radical remission certification. I'm a certified teacher and working to be a certified coach as we speak. So it is a real thing. I also teach a 12-hour workshop that goes into depth with all these strategies. And I coach around these highlights. And the thing that I love about radical remission, it's not against conventional treatment at all. In fact, we support it any way that anyone can heal. That's what we want. We want more remissions, any way that can happen. And it's not a treatment program. It's not a hang upside down 15 minutes every day and you're going to cure your cancer. It's So Dr. Kelly Turner released the book in 2014. It really took the cancer community by storm. It shot up to the New York Times bestseller list. It's been translated in over 20 languages, and it summarizes her decades worth of research specifically on remissions. So she was trained at Harvard University and got her PhD at UC Berkeley, and she was obsessed for her PhD with finding medically verified remissions that were spontaneous. So she was working at a hospital when she came across a case of her first spontaneous remission and didn't understand why there were more than 1,500 documented remissions that doctors didn't understand that we didn't know more about. So she went around the globe tracking down as many of these remission cases as she could, looking for similarities in both the patients and their healers. And what she discovered is that every single remission had a unique way that they credited with their healing. She found 75 different factors, some that did include hanging upside down, some that involved praying, some that involved changing their diet, some that involved jumping on a trampoline. But what she documented here were the 9 common factors across all 1,500. And that's why I gave you the little sheet today in case you want to take any notes. And I want to help you guys think of some action plans for today, because it does boost your immune system. And no matter where we are in our journey, even those of us that are survivors, continuing to keep the cancer away, we need to keep our immune systems boosted. If you don't want to get the flu, even as a caregiver, right? Like nothing ever could go wrong by boosting your immune system. So what I can promise you today is that these factors can help, but they also can never hurt you. So, talk about what we mean by radical remission. Right? It's a very distinct term because, first of all, as Dr. Turner went around and just was talking to the survivors, and they talked about spontaneous remission. Right? Spontaneous is what doctors call it, and that basically means that you go into your doctor sends you home to heal or to hospice. Basically, there's nothing more that medicine can do, and they think that you're going to perish. And then all of a sudden the patient comes in and they're healed. Spontaneous, and the doctor doesn't know why. But every radical remission survivor will tell you, and I see a lot of head nods, it's nothing spontaneous about it. It's a lot of hard work. And so as she came to the name of this, she started calling them radical remissions. And what we mean by that, broadly speaking, is a cancer remission that's not expected, because statistically, other patients with the same diagnosis haven't healed. And that person either, one, didn't use conventional medicine at all, or they used conventional medicine and it failed, and then they tried an alternative or complementary methods and it worked. Or they did a combination of both and outlived their prognosis. So, there's no guarantee that these 9 factors are going to heal anyone or keep cancer away or help any condition. But the scientific studies that we go into in depth in the workshop is that these improve the immune system. And that's what I love about Dr. Turner's research, is the reason it makes sense is it's not just a story. It's not just to do this, and my cousin's 5th aunt got well by eating chaga mushrooms or reishi mushrooms. She documents why the science behind it works. So if you're looking for more later, radicalremission.com, people have put up their stories as well as she's documenting all of the ones that she was able to verify. So radicalremission.com. And we'll chat now about what the 9 factors are. I will talk about them in no order of importance. Dr. Turner put them in the book in a way that flowed well for the book. And I'm going to talk about them today in a completely different order if you know the book. And that's because I'm actually trying this format out on you guys, because what's so exciting and interesting to me about these factors is that only 2 have to do with the body. And I'm going to start with those today because they feel like the most obvious. But remaining factors deal with the mental and the emotional and the spiritual side. And that always shocks everyone, shocked me when I read the book. But let's jump in and let's have a little fun. Ask questions as you go. Again, I get very excited about these things, so if they come up, please do just ask. But we'll jump into number one. Like I said, I'm going to start with the obvious one because almost every person who gets a cancer diagnosis asks, should I change my diet? And every doctor will say, and is obligated to say by the AMA, that there is no statistical data that diet will affect survival rates. Okay? Anybody else hear that? Okay. And they are correct because no one has studied and done a double-verified, peer-reviewed clinical trial of broccoli. Right? There's no money in broccoli. There's no money in our diet, and it costs millions of dollars to run a clinical trial. So only pharma companies who stand to gain millions with a patented drug are doing clinical trials. So while diet and changing your diet is the easiest thing for us as patients to control, it's also a landmine of conflicting information. And we boil down the factors here to a couple commonly agreed upon, right? Because if anyone dug deep into the nutrition side yet, and then you've got the vegan on one side, all plant-based, and then you've got the ketogenic, high-fat, low-protein, no sugar on the other. And everyone in between, right? And it's so confusing, and there's so much information we're taking in Cancer 101 and Survival 101, and the common thing that we agree upon that no nutrition, no dietitian, no doctor would ever disagree with, and you guys may laugh at me, is eating more fruits and vegetables.
No, definitely.
We know
I change my diet. I go mostly no sugar. Cut that out because I'm not good sugar from fruits and vegetables.
Good.
As far as I was reading into some of the stuff, sugar is one of the killers.
It feeds the cancer cells sugar.
Okay, good. So all right. Does everyone here feel like they've got
A lot of times I can't always find organic fruit. Does eating organic or non-organic affect?
Eating organic is preferred because of the pesticides.
Right.
Right. So the pesticides trigger other things, and often organic has a higher nutrition.
Right.
But if you can't do it, it's better to eat something, especially a covered fruit. Right. So have you heard of the Environmental Working Group? They do it. So EWG.org puts out the Dirty Dozen every year.
Yes. I know pineapple is good, cantaloupe is good. I've heard of that. I don't know the rest, but I've heard of the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah, so there's the Dirty Dozen and then there's the 15 Clean.
It's .org, EWG?
EWG.org.
I have a question about the vegetables. I have had a kidney condition, kidney stones, and was told by my urologist / PA, all kinds of vegetables, if I ate them in unidentified quantity, would bring the kidney stones back.
Okay, so that's right. The advice I give is general, right? So a lot of the audiences I talk to are, if you can make every meal 50% fruits and vegetables, you're going to start getting the nutrients you need, and you're going to start to feel better. It sounds like this audience may already be here. For you, because I have similar challenges, right? I personally cannot eat cruciferous vegetables or leafy greens. I mean, who the heck in the world can eat leafy greens? Apparently us, right? So with that, just work with your doctor. And I actually started working.
He doesn't give you.
You need it. So yeah, doctors.
They're not trained.
They're not trained. Absolutely.
No.
They get at best 1 hour or one. Some doctors more I'm hearing that they may get one full semester of it, but usually it's like what I hear is 1 hour of nutrition. A nutritionist, a functional medicine. I work with someone specified in cancer, but being in Brooklyn, you could definitely find someone to help you with that to navigate.
Nutritionist.
Okay, can you tell me where exactly to find this person?
I'm trying to pick the best. Mine is a cancer person who I work with.
So I don't really need, oh, I see.
Yeah, you don't need a cancer person.
Is there an organization of nutritionists?
Excuse me, you can find one at Maloney's, there's one there. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, usually hospitals will have ones registered
Yeah,
dietitians.
registered, because I've been there.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
That's the licensing registered dietitian.
Okay.
RD.
Oh, they
Now,
have,
my,
there's a
I
credential.
go to my aunt, and I love her, and she's a very
They're supposed to.
strong believer vegan.
Kidney don't give.
I did try to go vegan a
Oh,
few times,
great.
and
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
starving to death. I'm starving. I just can't, you know, and I would end up eating things that aren't good for me. So are there any, well, I guess you can tell us, you know, what diet, will you tell us what diet you prefer, like to do, like for protein? You know, what would I do? Beans, chickpeas, do you know?
Yeah, for vegan, like again, we don't get into the specifics because we want everyone to figure out what the best is for them. Because like again, from my personal experience,
Oh, you're talking about.
I went full vegan at one point, and then I went ketogenic. And vegan absolutely works for some people. It like you, it didn't work for my body, but I absolutely adore it. I actually should take because I agree with it mentally and emotionally and psychologically. I just think it makes so much sense. But I needed ketogenic. So for that, again, I would just say, like you guys, it sounds like really could benefit from a trained, solid,
Yeah.
you know, integrated nutritionist. And
Okay.
I'm going to look at my resources and make sure I get your information. I'll give you mine, and then I'll see what I
great.
can dig up for nutritionists. Because that one, and literally, again, so I'm glad I started with this one. You guys are extremely advanced. It sounds like you don't need any homework to get to 50% fruits and vegetables. So bravo on the computer or on the screen. You guys are there. Not that's your homework, but we'll jump to the next one, which is taking herbs and supplements. We're going to stick with the body because what was consistent is that radical remission cancer survivors all took a bevy of herbs and supplements. What wasn't consistent is what they were. Dr. Turner could not get any consistencies. She couldn't get it up to a top 10, a top 20. It was all over the place. So this is our trickiest one because it's as unique as you. And we also make no recommendations on this one for that reason. I don't want to tell you the person needs vitamin D because the next thing you know, you have enough vitamin D and we're sending you some kind of toxic shock. And so what is consistent is that luckily we already covered, right? Finding a functional medicine person. So it may be for you guys even more than a nutritionist, but I'll make sure I give you the card. Because it could be an integrated medical practitioner, right? Someone that really is going to look at your makeup. And you find a good one when they go through your blood, your urine, or your stool. Or in the case, we've had great success stories with Chinese herbs. Right? That counts too. And a Chinese, someone trained in traditional Chinese medicine is going to take your pulse and look at your tongue. And they can tell everything you need to know about those two things. But again, it's very specialized. So, and it's also, as we said, it's not going to be your doctor. That's not what they do. What you need to do is make sure that it's not something that's counterindicative so that they, don't throw it behind their backs. But they know that what you're doing. So, does everyone have a list of herbs and supplements that they're already comfortable with? No?
I take certain vitamins.
That kind of feels like it makes sense. But when we get beside what we can do, the tangible things, then we start to touch into the mind, body, and spirit connection. And I always believed as a personal person in the mind, body, spirit connection made sense to me. I thought they were intertwined, but I didn't really appreciate until I got sick and until I read this book how much it can affect our healing. And Dr. Turner's research proved over and over that the mind, body, spirit was integral in these spontaneous remissions. And it's the first one I like to start with when we talk about the mind emotion side, is having a strong reason to live. And people who have something to live for live longer. Period. It was just that simple. And it didn't matter whatever that reason was. It was whether it was their dog, or wanting to be a grandmother, or the charity that they work with. That having a reason to live, unlike not wanting to die, right? That's a different emotion. Because not wanting to die is something every cancer patient faces. When we hear that diagnosis in the Western world, it sounds like a death sentence. And it shrivels and it makes us scared, and it sends us into that panic mode. Wanting to live is very expressive and exciting, and having a reason to wake up every day. And in my case, I wanted to see my son graduate. I wanted to be a grandmother, and so I woke up every morning to fight for him. And some people wake up because they want to travel. They've got a bucket list that they've never filled. And it doesn't matter what that reason is. But I see some. You're very excited about this. Is there something you want to add to that? Okay. I love your enthusiasm. It's such a great energy around that. But, so I promised you a little homework. Do you know what that reason is today? Again, you can jot it down if you need it, or you can think about it. And just embrace it for the next week, right? Because sometimes with the busy go, we forget what that is. And what we saw with the radical remission survivors is that they checked in with that and they really embraced it. So that's that factor. Any thoughts on that one that you want to chat about?
Makes sense. I could see,
Littlest 10 minutes. And let me give you an example of what I did after I read this chapter in the book. I put my then 9-year-old son in charge of making mommy laugh for 10 minutes a day. That was his job. He had to make me laugh. And I swear I saw every cat video ever made in 2016. But it gave him something to do so he could feel like he was part of the team. And it boosted his endorphins too, because it's kind of depressing when your mom's not well. So he needed endorphins, and we got to bond. And it brought us closer together, and I got the good moments, right? And that was one strategy that we chose. And I think it doesn't have to just be laughing, right? Laughing feels good, and to this day we still have a little rule in our house that we have to laugh 10 minutes, because it just helps us break up the mood. Maybe the best thing that brings you joy is watching a funny video, or reading a good book, just because you can, because you have, or gardening, or going on a walk with your dog. So, is there one thing that you could dedicate 10 minutes to that will bring you joy for the next week that you want to try? Empowering yourself. Becoming your own health CEO. So radical remission survivors were bad patients. Western medicine has given our control over doctors. Right? If something goes wrong with our health, we expect our doctors to fix it. We think we're going to go in and we're going to get a pill and it's going to be magic. And doctor knows best is what a lot of us grow up with. And our natural instinct when a doctor says this is all we can do is just to roll with it. And what we found in Radical Remission is that these patients, these survivors, took control of their own treatment. And that's how they stopped being a bad patient, how they stopped being a good patient and they became a bad patient. They did their own research. They questioned the doctor. And mentally, what I love about this factor is it gives us something to do. Right? That time between each appointment and feels so vast and scary. Whereas if you're researching your own healing, it gives you something to actively do and to go in and say, doctor, what about this or what about that, and not be a passive bystander. Not take a diagnosis or a prognosis at face value, but really push the doctor on why he's recommending the treatment. What are the stats? How do you know that this is going to work? Right? And definitely getting a second opinion. Right? Good. In my case, when I went back, when I got the 4, and they all kept saying the same thing, right? They kept saying that you're incurable, there's nothing we can do. I knew I was with the right doctor, right? I needed, for my mental side, I needed that reaffirmation. But then I continued to push him. Like, he and I had a couple good heart-to-hearts where I was like, I need to know you're on my team. And I'd also read the book, so I was like, oh no, I'm not just taking what you say this time. And in part because doctors, what I love about them is they know what they know. Right? They are, and I do love my oncologist, because he is always up to speed on the latest on what's going on in the world. He's so well respected in this community, and he focuses solely on that. So I can't count on him to know what's going on in nutrition, right? That was for me to figure out, right? So he knows what he knows, and that's when I realized that the medical community was part of my healing team, right? And that was for me. That's consistent with what other Radical Remissions found, is that they had their doctor, they had their oncologist, and then they had a team of other healers around that made sense for them. So, is there something that you've been wanting to do to get back in charge of your health? Maybe it is that you've been putting, maybe it is traditional, and you just have been putting on the doctor's appointment. I know I'm guilty of that. This month, I just was teaching another workshop, and I was like, okay, I really got to practice what I preach. So I just had my appointment yesterday. But maybe there's something that you've always been intrigued with that you've been wanting to add to your health. Maybe work with acupuncture, right? Maybe someone else, or Reiki, or
I go to yoga.
Fantastic. Is this someone else again? Or a homeopath, right? So, is there something in the next week that you've been wanting to do that you could jot down and make yourself do? Right, to really become your own CEO. If not, then think back about it later. And then, so that leads to, right, if you can't trust your doctor implicitly, right, where you do start to have thoughts of like, well, I want to expand my care, who are you going to trust? Have you ever had the feeling when you meet someone instantaneously and you do not like them? Right, that's the exact thing. I know. So all we're saying is when you are making that decision about chemotherapy and you've got the doctor that is in his right lab coat with all of the research he's done and his Harvard degrees behind him and his presence, and doctors can be really, really strong, is if your gut instinct says, I'm in, and that's what mine said. I signed up the next week. There are just as many people on chemo that said, no, I don't know what's next, but it's not chemo for me. And so as we try to build that, right, it is the same muscle that when you walk in a room and your hair stands on end. And have you ever had that? And you're like, I gotta get out of here. And you don't know why. Right? It's the back part of your brain, your amygdala. It's and it's been there. It's our oldest part of the brain, and it was very handy. We need it because it's the same thing that said, "Tiger, run!" Right? You want that. But now, in our world where we are physically more safe, it ends up getting conflicting information because we override it with the rest of our brain. And when it gets triggered, and you hear the death sentence, or what we, and I'm not saying it is, because we're all here, we're all survivors. Cancer is not a death sentence. But your brain hears when you have I have cancer, your brain says, run! And everything else shuts down, right? And so when a doctor says, this is the only thing you can do, what we saw with radical remission survivors, and everyone made the decision, was if they went with whatever their gut was saying, even if it contradicted doctors, is that because they trusted themselves, right? That's part of the connection to it, is what your heart says. And I'll give you a little exercise to play with it. Is there a question that's been weighing on your mind lately? Like, could be big, like, what car should I buy? Or it could be a little, like, what am I going to wear? Is there, or should I paint my room teal or right? Think of that question. And I call this is not an official term, but it's like dream catching. So if you write that question down, either in this or if you have a journal, right before you go to bed. Turn off all your devices right as you're crawling in, or reread it right before you go to bed, and then put it down. And then in the morning, before you do anything else, especially before you pick up your devices, right? Because if anybody's an email first thing in the morning, like before you do that, you can peek, because that's what you got to do. But write down your dreams, anything you remember from that dream, and then just leave it. Don't think about it, don't judge it. If it's purple dancing bears on mushrooms, just go with it and write it down, and then come back tomorrow night and see if you see a correlation. Sometimes that could be where your dream is, right? Like there could be wisdom in that, and that's just one way to tell your instinct. The easiest way is to trust it. And your little decisions, right? If you hit to a corner and you always go right, and something, again, whether you hear a voice, or you feel a tingle in your arm, or your gut says something, some people just know things, just go with it and see what happens. So, that's the going with your intuition. And again, it's the most interesting one for me to teach, because so many of us have been taught that it's woo-woo, and it's like crazy pants out there. But when we start to see it as a gift, the way many of these radical remission patients did, it starts to inform more of our lives, and we end up living in a space that we're more comfortable in and happy overall. So, that's one technique to tap into, but have fun with it. Now this one's not nearly as touchy-feely, but feeling positive emotions, right? Who doesn't love to laugh and hug and smile, or enjoy a good book, just because you want to? Right? Those positive emotions release all your good hormones, your serotonin, your oxytocin, your endorphins, right? And all of that helps your immune system. Laughter truly is the best medicine. But we get so caught up in our day-to-day lives, right? We forget to laugh. We forget to be happy. And whenever we think about that, we're like, but I love to be happy. How can I forget to do that? But who was the last time you had a really good belly laugh? Anybody have one in the last 24 hours?
I think so.
We have one.
Not the last 24 hours.
Right, not the last 24 hours. No.
Right, because there were to-do lists, and there's laundry, serious complaints, especially those that have children, right? Like the little wires that go on. What Dr. Turner found was that over and over, survivors sit out with whatever time they have left to increase their positive emotions and feel more touchable. Okay? So, I want to be clear. None of us are going to be happy all the time. Especially when you're in the middle of a health crisis. Especially those of us that are trying to not get into a health crisis again. Right? Their life is ebbs and flows, and that's to be expected. But what radical remission survivors found is that they set aside a little time each day to make sure that they had some positive emotion. The flip side of the touchy-feely coin is if we don't have enough time to feel happy because we're so busy, we certainly do not have time for repressed emotions, for feeling sad or bad or mood. This is a heavy one. But a lot of cultures in the world really believe that suppressed emotions, and I count all repressed emotions, happy or sad, can cause illness. For the Indians, they call it the prana. So within your chakras, your life force, when it's not flowing properly, that's where it is. The Chinese will call it your chi. So when your life force, your chi, gets trapped, that's where we get ill, or that's where pain happens. And even in America, we're starting to see this big movement around mindfulness to release stress. So it's starting to really get into our culture verbatim. But none of us wants to do it. Right? How many of us have ever said, I don't have time to deal with that? Right? Or, I'm okay. I'm fine. Or that is so stupid. Why am I so upset about that? I have all of this stuff to be grateful for. Like, what does it matter? And so you shut it down. And if that rings true to you, I want you to consider taking some time to open up that emotional closet and do a little spring cleaning for your soul. And this week, think about what the right method, or you're going to love this one, is deepening spiritual connection. Right? So I mentioned the mind-body-spirit connection that Dr. Turner found in the survivor state of help them heal, boost their immune system, and the research backs up. And maybe some of the emotional stuff resonated with you, but the last two factors that I'll dig into tonight are spiritual. And one is deepening the spiritual connection. And we're in Brooklyn today, so spirituality can mean anything to a whole lot of people. And that is pretty universal, but I love Brooklyn is so diverse in all of its great uniqueness, that spirituality by no means means religion. So for some people do find comfort in the church, others find it in meditation, some find it in crystals, some find it gardening. And all that matters is it's connecting to something bigger. And that's what this is about, right? Connecting to whatever we call it. Some people call it the universe. Some people call it source. Some people call it energy. Some people, if it's their faith, call it God. It doesn't matter what we call it. It's just the basic belief that there's something bigger than us and in the human experience. So, I'd love for all of you to think, is there something that you can deepen your connection with? Maybe it's a walk in nature. Maybe it's getting into the garden. Maybe it's a Tibetan healing bowl ceremony. Maybe it's only walk. Maybe it's just walking your dog in the morning across the park. Whatever that connection is. Maybe it is Jesus, and maybe it is God. Right? Whatever it is, it's finding that thing. So, is there anything that anybody wants to share? Embracing the social split, right? So, our connections to other human beings. And that was a beautiful way to, right, healing others helped you heal, right? And you tap in, this is back to my reason for living. When I reassessed it, it's this. Now I'm going to get it. Is I truly believe I survived to try to share with reach one person a day, one thing that can make me try to just live a little healthier, a little better. And for so many survivors that we found they were so good at giving, they weren't good at receiving. Right? And I think what you're saying is true. That you're good at giving and not receiving. And that's, and it's a skill. And it's for two reasons. Number one, when you don't accept the help that people want to give you, especially in a battle, you're denying them being part of your journey. Right? That was a big mind shift for me. I'll be honest. This was and is the hardest one for me.